and not the whole part of you, because that means missed opportunities for anything that's related to your professional goal.
And then you say something in when I met you. Uh, if you don't define your personal brand, somebody else is going to do it, and not precisely going to do it positively or optimize for yourself.
Right, right. I think we all have a choice. If we want to work on our personal brand, then we control the narrative. We control the narrative of how we describe ourselves, how we communicate who we are. And it's also demonstrated in your actions as well, not just in what you say. But on the flip side, to your point, if you don't do that, then in the absence of not saying anything, people are going to create perceptions of you, and they're going to create a story for you. And like I said, it could be positive, but is it complete? Is it really serving you well for what you want to accomplish in your career?
What will you say to people that owns business, that or to women that or anybody that works in corporations? They will say, "I'm not a public person."
Yeah.
Why is it so important for them to build a personal brand?
Right. I think personal branding gets a bad rap, and I think sometimes people think personal branding is bragging, or it's for people that want to be a public speaker, or it's only for CEOs that are always out there, right, in the media and the press. And I think we forget that personal branding is an essential tool for building your career and helping you move ahead, right? So I think that personal branding helps you, especially in those moments where the stakes are high, right? You're trying to get a promotion. You've always wanted to be on XYZ projects, but you're overlooked. You're interviewing for a new job, or you're making an important pivot within the organization. If you're not clearly defining and signaling, this is me and I want to be there, then people are not seeing it. So again, it's not about bragging. It's about really communicating who you are, the value that you bring, and the intention that you have within the corporation. So I would say for someone that's working in a company, being able to communicate who you are and what you want to be and how you could help the company grow and evolve is really, really important. You can't sit back and expect your boss to know what's in your mind and what you want. And you can't expect your colleagues to see you in a different light if you're not communicating and signaling that you have the potential to move into this new role, for example.
Absolutely. And for business people, I think it's clear the statistics that I just mentioned say before anybody buys your product, your service, or your vision, they buy you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people forget that business is based on personal relationships. So yes, you could admire a company, you could really love a brand, but sometimes what you're buying is that relationship, right? And in business relationships, we were talking earlier, like I used to work for communications agencies, and I used to be part of new business pitches all the time. And I remember like we would form the team based on who has the best experience, but who's also going to help us create a relationship with the brand team or the communications team on the client side. Because we recognize that we're not just selling our organization or our company name, we're selling the people that are going to build that relationship, and you need to trust. So it's a lot about trust as well.
Absolutely. I think it's something also very important nowadays. We do it as consumers as well.
Yeah.
I don't know, if we think about Tesla, who do we think of?
Elon Musk.
Right? Yeah, the owner. If we think of certain brands, who do we think? If you think like your favorite brand, probably it's the owner that made an impact on you.
Yeah, it's the owner, and I think that's why leadership, personal branding, and leveraging your leadership for the reputation of your company sometimes goes hand in hand. So that could be a positive thing, and in some cases, as we just discussed, it could also be a negative thing. But the other connection I want to make between people, relationships, and brands, for all of us that have been in business for a long time, you've always been invited to a brand summit or a conversation about the brand, right? And almost always the first thing that you're asked about the brand is, If the brand was a person, what kind of person would it be? What would their attributes be? So you think about brands, and even today when you have conversations about brand archetypes, right? The creator, the hero, the sage, their brands are wrapped around personality traits of people, values of people. So that's why I want to make this connection that personal branding is not so foreign, and I would argue that it's even more natural to think about your personal brand because it's what we use when we're thinking about a product and a consumer brand. So it's not that disconnected. There actually is a connection.
Can you use the same methods or to define your business brand and your personal brand, or is totally different?
I think it's two different things. I think the business brand is really about the promise that you deliver to customers from the product or from the brand that you're selling or the offering that you're presenting, right? But they have similar traits. If you are the person behind that brand, then there is some connection between the value of your brand or your company and the value that you bring as well, because there's a connection. But I think a personal brand is really, I say it all the time, it's not a persona. It's not someone you're creating to match the company or to match something else. A personal brand is authentically who you are. And that's why I really, when I work with individuals, I really stress the point that it's about not just your professional goal, but it's also about your personal values. And they have to be together. And that's when you show up the most authentically. And that's when you are really presenting yourself in the most authentic, clear way. I think it's easier to be yourself than to try to be someone else. I think it's a lot of work to keep up with an image and keep up with a persona. That's a lot of work. How great would it be if you intentionally go into the exercise of looking at, okay, this is my goal, these are my values, these are my unique differentiators, this is what I bring to the table with this opportunity. I have clarity. I'm going to make sure that every time I show up like this. Then you're showing up as yourself. And there's absolutely no extra effort, right? You are simply showing up as yourself. I think when people mistake personal branding with creating a persona, that becomes very, very difficult. It becomes very tiring. And you're not going to be set up to meet your goal.
Absolutely. And how does the personal branding help